Okay, so chapter 6 we are gonna start with conditionals and so conditionals, let's think about the fact that we started with functions before, right? So conditionals is more like if a condition satisfies, so what's the statement or what's the function supposed to do? So condition is more like or case or and case if you're familiar with programming. So this is an example flowchart for a conditional statement. So we are giving the condition if it satisfies and it will execute the corresponding statement. And if the condition fails over here, and it will go to the false and probably go to the end of the statement. Let's see that with the syntax with each statement. So if takes a Boolean expression, and for instance, if I'm saying x equals 5, the x equals 5 output is considered as a true or false or 0 or 1 in terms of binary. So if it satisfies or if it becomes true, it will go to the statement. If not, it will get exited out of the loop, not the loop, the if statement. So this is a sample example. So this is probably you're familiar with. If x equals 5, it is just checking whether the value is exactly equals to 5 or not. So we assign the value y, we assign the value x equals 5, and I don't think it will cause any problem. So it prints x equals 5, the statement inside the print. A Boolean expression evaluates to either true or false, like I said before. In Python, there is a good statement: anything that is not true will be considered as false. It's a statement by the author, but my professor edited the statement like if a statement is interrupted as a false statement, it will be false. So it's the interrupted is the thing that we need to be aware of. There are also like certain keywords that will directly related to a false Boolean value. We will talk about the keywords later. So we will go with the flow of the slides. Yeah, this is the statement I'm referring to. So my professor edited the way like anything that is interrupted as false, uh, that is not interrupted as false is interrupted to. It's vice versa. So false, literal, it's a false. None is a false. Value 0, float value of 0.0, an empty string, and an empty dictionary. We haven't talked about dictionary, so we will talk about it probably next class. So everything in this list will be treated as false, and rest of them will be treated as true. That's a literal statement from the book itself. So what does this one print? You can talk because we will not having your voice within this recording, so you can speak if you want. So let's try this. So the x is nothing the value of 5 and print x. So what do you think that this one will print? We talked about, okay, I'm getting
Use
this
print
noise.
sign.
Let me just go with the flow rather
So
than
void, right?
yeah, repeat. Yeah, it returns null. So null or the keyword none will be interrupted as false. So this won't go with the loop. Rather, it will just
Print
print
three.
the
Huh?
string. Yep. Let's take some time. Oh, it's okay. 5 and 3. Okay. Oh yeah. So I forgot the fact that the print will print the value inside it, but it returns none. So the print 5 will execute, but it won't return the value for if. It will return, but it's none. So it returns none data type. So this statement will be considered as false and it won't go over this. So print 5 will execute and print 3 will be executed. So yeah, these are the two methods gets printed there. So this one, it will take 5 as an input, it will consider true, and it will go over all the three statements. Yep, 1, 2, 3. So you can use the following operators to construct Boolean operations: less than, the symbol less than or equals to. This is something you might be familiar with if you have a programming background. So what do you think that this one will print? Will it return something, or what it will be? From my understanding, 2 is less than 10, and that is true. So I believe that this will return true. Okay, I need to run this one, running the script. So yeah, it returns true. So an expression which is not in a string is a value, so it will just compare with the operation. If it is true, it returns true. If you try to return the entire print statement, remember it will return none data type. So that's the only difference. So you can play with this entire thing just for exercise. We are all aware of that. We'll move to the next slide. So and we will be talking about short circuit in terms of programming in few minutes from now, but be aware of this particular operation. So we might be looking into like zero and I mean true and true will be true. So and operation is like a multiplication, and treat true as a value 1. So false and false will be the only statement, sorry, true and true will be the only statement which returns true in terms of and operation. In terms of or operation, we will have false or false. That is the only statement that returns false. It's like uh, inversely proportional. You all know this, and an Austrian is not a big deal. So not is literally what is opposite of the input is. So if it is true, it will be returns false. Um, and is done before or. This is very important statement. So it's like multiplication comes before addition in mathematics, so we need to be if you're writing more into mathematical expressions, you need to be aware of that. So this is Python short circuit. So when first time I looked into this, I didn't have much idea, but once explained to me, it makes much sense. So consider the fact that we know that false and anything is going to return false, and true or anything is going to return true. We know that, we just seen the statements before. So why a or condition has to check this if this one is already true, and why an and statement has to check this condition if we already have a false? The output is not going to change. So this is called short circuit. The program will break right after it sees or it reads true and or together, so it won't have to go over this. So this is called a short circuit in terms of programming. So we are saving some execution time by just checking these two and deciding whatever the next input is going to be. We already decided the output, so we will skip this part. So that is Python short circuit. Uh, Indentation. We talked about indentation before between Mac and Windows. So it's recommended to use space instead of tabs. Uh, you can use tabs or space to indent, but don't use both. That is very recommended. So we talked about if just before this. So what is the if else? If you're familiar with programming in C++, we talk about if, else if, and we just keep on going, right? So we also see nested if statements in this programming as well. So this is an example for if else statement. We don't use if else, we rather use just else for anything in terms of Python. So I'm giving the value of x equals 4, and I'm passing and I'm checking the value if f is greater than 2, which is true in this case, and it prints true. If we change the value of x, like 1, it will go to the else statement and it will print this. Pretty simple, right? So else if uh, so else if is not there, like I said, we only have elif. So these terms might vary, just you just need to keep in mind. So if you have multiple else statements to pass in, you use elif. If there are just only two statements, we just use if and else. That's it. So the syntax is pretty much the same as if. So you have to use elif instead of else if in other programming languages. You just need to pass all the checking parameters, and you're good to go. So nested if, as we seen, if statement and else statement inside some other if else statement. Pretty standard. So early exit. So exit is something you will use to get out of the looping statements. So if I use exit here, once this condition satisfies, I won't check anything that is below the else if or or elif or else. So it will exit from the loop and it will just start executing these things. So that is pretty much the end of chapter 6.